Welcome to Hired Masterclass Office Hours. It is Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. Every week we are here, or at least I am. I know a lot of you are returning. Yay! There's about 12 of us. Wonderful. Lots of returning faces. If this happens to be your first time, which I doubt, I don't really see any new names. But even if you're returning, you're welcome to introduce yourself in the chat. I encourage you to use your LinkedIn profile, the URL, and just drop it. Or if you want to introduce yourself where you're located. My name is Zoila. I am the founder of Public Health Hired, and I am currently in Los Angeles, and I'm sitting next to my son in like a cafeteria space. So I'm not in my usual spot. I'm just dealing with summer schedule, but I'm here for you guys. I'm here to help you all get hired, whatever's going on. So this is very open-ended, more of an open conversation, just whatever's on your mind, whatever you're going through, if you're getting callbacks, if you're not getting callbacks, whatever that looks like. So I am happy to just open it up for questions if people want to raise what's going on in your world. Hi, Sylvia. You have a question, Sylvia, or you just wanted to say hi?
Yeah, so I have a quick question. So oftentimes when we are having the question, tell us about yourself. So how should I answer that question?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so glad you asked.
Specifically.
Yeah. So tell us about yourself. It is also the underlying question of why you should get the job. So tell us about yourself should already entail their highest qualifications that they want to hear from you. And an easy or like a good way to anchor yourself around what language to use is actually your summary from your resume because it pulls and it stems from their highest qualifications. So usually I'm telling you guys how to map the bottom of the job, the preferred, required, desired, minimum qualifications, and how to move that to the top of your summary. Well, that actually is what you should use to reflect on what am I going to say when I say, tell us about yourself. So usually tell us about yourself is like 30% personal, just to kind of, hi, I'm Sylvia. I live in North Dakota. I have a dog named, Chatty, like whatever you want to say. But you quickly move on to, and in the last 5 years, I've been deep in program implementation and program management, particularly for X, Y, and Z, right? So depending on what they say they want and what you mapped according to your summary for that job, that's what you ground yourself in when they say, tell us about yourself. You just reiterate that. You don't have to like memorize it, but you have to be comfortable keeping that top of mind when they say, tell us about yourself. Does that make sense, Sylvia?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, and it's a little different for every job you interview for. So if it's like health education job or administrative job or evaluation role, that slight like emphasis needs to be there when you say tell us about yourself. Okay. Kimberly, do you have a question?
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Okay. Hi. So I wanted to piggyback off of that because I actually had an interview yesterday and I believe I did some good prep in trying to get the tell me about yourself. The only thing is I'm trying to decide if this is a good thing or bad thing. So I went ahead and I just kind of walked her through my resume, highlighting the things that are relevant to
Yes.
the job. And and she had mentioned like, oh, you've answered so many of my questions. So it kind of it just kind of stopped really like it just felt like there wasn't we didn't take as much time because I spent so much time talking. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad
So
thing
this
or
was
how to
yesterday.
balance that.
This was
Yes.
yesterday. Okay. And
Mhm.
did she ask you any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell that they weren't questions that they were planned. It was more just like circling back to the things I've said. But because
Okay.
she started with saying like, "Oh, I have 8 questions," but like by the time we actually got to it, we she didn't really ask me that many questions.
Well, you answered them.
Okay. So there's never a way where it's like too much.
No, I mean, did you ramble? Did you find yourself rambling? So Kimberly, just so you understand, there is a way that you do say who you are with 30% personal, and then 70% of the rest is professional in relation to your highest qualifications. Yes. Now, if you like really front loaded a lot of what they were going to ask you, like what's your experience in project management? What's your experience with nonprofits? What's your experience working with diverse patients? And you happen to cover all of those spaces, kudos to you. That's amazing. Like, you know what you're talking about. So it's not that you like had a better way to say it, but like you basically know what you're talking about. Um, and if they didn't have follow-up questions, then they just didn't. I mean, ideally they would.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, yeah. And then we'll see what they say. This was
Okay.
yesterday. So
hmm
yeah,
Thank
let us know if you
you.
hear back. You're welcome.
Okay.
Cynthia, you have a question?
Hi, Zoila. Just wanted to quickly say that you can add me as to your statistics of recruiters not stepping up to their bargain. But I
Oh
did have
no.
a question. I did have a question.
Okay.
Um, I was recently told during a second round interview that I did not like evoke enthusiasm. And I did recognize myself kind of being like very direct. It's really hard for me to evoke like virtual interviews are really hard for me. I was hoping that there would have been an
Who
in-person
said
set.
this to you, Cynthia? Who said this to you? Was it a recruiter?
It was, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, don't listen to them.
I didn't get picked for the job, so was there any validity to that?
No,
Okay.
no, no. That disturbs me.
And I was also told that my examples in sh uh, leadership experience were not very clear, or that my examples did not reflect any leadership ability on my part. Mind you, I'm enrolled in an MPH leadership and practice program too. But I have since found a lot of the tactics that you've referenced that I am incorporating now that I think will kind of fill those deficits that I may have.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry that, okay, so first of all, it's rare for people to get that kind of feedback, um, that you weren't, guess, more bubbly or friendly. What did they say? What was the term she said or he
Um,
said?
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm. Okay. So
They were concerned that I wouldn't fit well with their outgoing team.
what's the title that you applied for?
Senior clinical research coordinator,
For what company?
Rush University in Chicago.
Oh, this is Rush. I have never ever heard someone say you weren't enthusiastic enough. In fact, I know a lot of people with like quote unquote bitch faces that get jobs. So no, I don't think it's not the enthusiasm, the friendliness. It could be them. Here's the thing is they can't really say exactly why you didn't get the job. They can't discriminate. They can't. So maybe they were just saying that as a way to just throw you something as far as why it didn't work out. It's not common that they actually will tell you why you didn't get the role. Now, the feedback on the leadership, okay, I mean, it was a senior role, right? So it sounds like they wanted you to maybe supervise people. And if you don't have that direct supervision, that's probably what they were saying versus general leadership, because there are places that will allow you to enter into a leadership role if say you've like managed volunteers, but they're not your direct reports that you like do performance review evaluations for, right? But maybe their interpretation at Rush Medical, because this is a senior level, they're like, well, you're going to actually train and manage people. We need to have that on your background. And maybe that's where they were coming from, right? So I just want you to not take the feedback so literal. Some companies really just generally have a high wall or a lot of red tape. I'm thinking of, for example, UCSF, the University of California, San Francisco, that really screwed one of my mentees over because they made their references go through like a 20-point checklist question of like basically asking the references, like, to what strength of ability can this person do this task? And I've never seen that. Like, like I've never seen a company ask the reference past supervisors to what level a person does a certain task. In general, they may ask like, you know, this role really supports, a certain area, and, can you share how this person has, contributed to the work similarly. So there are ways that they can kind of get information of your past work, but I just know that whether it's their screening or their sort of how they do their references, you sometimes you just don't have control over that. But I don't want you to feel beat up over this, especially with it being a recruiter. As you know, I'm just not a big fan of them. I feel bad because I'm like, I'm going to meet recruiters more and more in my life, and I don't want them to think. But I'm sorry that you had such a bad experience. This is kind of why I try to stay away from them too much.
You just touched on something else with a prior employer. Is it okay to ask a follow-up question, a
Go
different
ahead.
question?
Go ahead.
I had an experience, and I'm more than happy to share out the name with you, Chicago, and in which I requested an educational leave for my MPH. It wasn't granted. I had to resign. I took my case to leadership and notified my chair and leadership of what had happened. Um, and even took it to I forget what government agency it was. It was EEOC, I think it was, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Received feedback, actually spoke with an attorney. This is prior to the current administration. Very supportive, found out that there's no law that requires employers to grant, and all that to say, I did a lot of really great work for my PIs at U Chicago. I am in touch with maybe one or two staff, but I know that, with physicians, they're very much they stray from all of that administrative nuances. Me going to leadership um caused a lot of frowns, a lot of disappointment. Didn't get a lot of engagement from my PIs, which was a little bit disappointing, but I expected it from them. Is it I've since messaged them because we had that text messaging relationship. I'm going to try to be brief. Um, is it stupid? Is it dumb to reach out and ask them to be a reference? I have references, but I did a lot of really good work for a lot of these PIs. What is your take on this? I'm more than happy to also just keep moving forward because I've been doing it without their like reference support.
Dan, there was a strain in the relationship, or there was miscommunication before you left?
Strain in the relationship with the university, not specifically with the PIs.
If there was a breach of chain of command and they weren't satisfied with that, that might not be worth reaching back out to them.
Okay.
Um, because do you know what I mean by chain of command? Like if you went over someone's head, is that what happened?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I would say if there's some sour grapes, it's okay. You can move on. Here's the thing with references. I'm glad you raised this because some people I am helping mentees through some references right now. And here's the thing. I grill them on who these people are because sometimes you guys think the reference is a good reference when really you need someone who's going to you need a past supervisor, interim supervisor, faculty member, professor, someone who is a superior. You have to think of it as a reference needs to be a superior. So even if it's like a co-director from another department, that's better than your co-worker. So you need to think of superiors and it could be a volunteer, like if you volunteered somewhere and you want to write down the chef of the kitchen where you volunteered, like whatever. That is better than a coworker or a friend or someone from school. Because I have been running into a lot of mentees who think that Like, oh, but I work next to them and they know my work. I'm like, no, that's not suitable. That's not strong. And the thing that happens is your references ideally need to be three superior titles, right? People that saw your work in any way, shape, or form, whether it was, I mean, I've used faculty before when I graduated from my master's. I needed like my preceptor to be my reference, and and they were fine with that, right? But I'm just letting you know that sometimes the test in itself is you displaying the strength of their title and the company they come from. So for example, if they're the executive director, if they're a physician, if they're a professor, if they're like a senior director, that speaks volumes versus just like putting a colleague down, or a client. Now, sometimes the references will say, we'll accept, like I've seen this where it says must have 3 or 4 references, at least one professional, one personal, and one like client or customer. I've seen that where like you can do a variety, but it has to specifically be stated. If it's not specifically stated, you must default to the 3 superior, like 3 references of superiors. That's the default. So I just want to throw that out there because I don't think I talk about it enough, but they need to be strong titles, and they need to be people who will, without a shadow of a doubt, say like, yes, hire this person. Yes, they were lovely to work with. Yes, they knew what they were doing. Yes, we trusted them. Yes, like, if you don't feel like someone's going to say, yes, hire that person, then don't put them down. You need your references to be, to have your back. That's what they're for. So be mindful who you guys are putting down. Think about it before you just submit. Is a mentor better than a colleague? Yeah, mentor in what capacity? Like, were they at work? Like if it's like a shadowing kind of situation, like maybe they are like, are they the senior coordinator and you're the coordinator? Okay, maybe. Right? It has to be, again, a title where there's a difference. So, and you can't just put like, oh, this person is my mentor on the title. It has to be, and then when that person is asked, because the questions are, how do you know this person? Right? That person has to say whether they trained you or guided you or worked next to you. You want to just make sure that person is going to clearly reference how they know you without just being like, oh, she's my friend. Like maybe you think you're them, right? Like just make sure the relationship is clear. That would be my suggestion. Yeah, you got it. Happy to help.